Okay. Well, now it's recording, so cool. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started. So I think we had a couple people that bailed at the last minute from Kentucky. You guys are just bailing on me left and right today. But Sarah's here. And so Sarah, why don't you introduce yourself and kind of talk about your production and what, a little bit history of you as an agent.
Sure. So I'm Sarah. I'm down in Kentucky. I am on Dana Gentry's team. We sell in Central Kentucky, which is the Lexington area, and then also in Louisville. I'm from Louisville, so a lot of my Louisville business is like family, friends, lifelong friends. And then we get a lot of agent referrals just because Louisville's so big. And then Lexington, a lot of our business has traditionally came from Dana Sphere. She's sold down in Central Kentucky for 15 years now. She's always run a top producing team. And now a lot of what I do is reach out to all of her past clients, her friends, her family, and that's typically the majority of our business.
Cool. And what did you guys do production-wise last year?
Last year we sold 11 million or 12 million. And then this year we're on track to probably sell around 15 million. My business alone, like people have come from like my database and my lead generation. Last year I had 8 deals come from my database and my lead generation for the full year. And now this year, after June, I'll already have closed 8 deals just from my database and my lead generation alone.
Awesome. Sarah, how about you?
I'm next door to you. So are you asking about last year or this year?
Yeah, tell me about what your business looked like last year and then what it's looked like so far this year, and kind of maybe explain a little bit about what you've done with your team during that time.
I was just trying to pull my numbers. I think we were maybe 14 million last year. I think right now I'm looking at my pipeline board right now. I think we've closed out after today, like a little over 9 million. So we're not even halfway through the year. So it definitely has picked up a lot, and we have a really big pipeline of buyers and possible listings too that are kind of sitting stagnant right now, but I think we'll start to come out of the woodwork because of the pandemic being lifted. Or not pandemic, but the stay at home, like everything's kind of settling down. People are getting back to normal. So I feel like it's just going to continue to get busier for us. Added a new buyer's agent to my team who has kicked butt from the start. So I think you're on contract number 6. Contract number 6. She just started in January. And it just had a contract accepted last night. So we stayed busy through the pandemic. I think it's because we just continue to work. Like we built up a big pipeline for the first of the year for January. So I think that helped. And we just carried it through the whole time. So it was a little rough, but knock on wood, we made it through. So
Cool.
Far, so good. I actually have a client though, I'll let everybody know. They were supposed to close yesterday, and closing happened. It's wrapping up today, but the husband got COVID. He got sick last week and got the test results on Saturday morning and ended up in the hospital and is still there today. So we had a husband and wife that we had to figure out how to get them closed with one hospitalized with COVID. But everybody pulled together, the bank, the title company. Luckily it was cash, so made it a lot easier. If we were financing, I don't think we would have closed. But it was kind of crazy because it's so close to home now.
Yeah. And you're somebody with your husband being a firefighter that it was pretty close to home anyways.
Yeah, we were quarantined twice.
Yeah. All right, Oliver, how about you?
So in my 6th year, been a solo agent pretty much all through that. Started a team 3 years ago. Did it the wrong way. We can talk about that later. But transitioning back into a team-based model, last year I did just shy of 10 million solar production. And this year, we're pretty much on the same track as last year. I did hire an admin finally, and we're just working through a lot of systems and new marketing. So kind of took my foot off the gas with lead generation, because primarily a lot of my business is and online leads. But going forward, we're looking at transitioning more into sphere-based past client. Just naturally in the 6th year, getting a lot more referrals and repeat business. So I love that type of business rather than dealing with the headaches of just people not knowing you. So, but yeah, I mean, I'm really excited kind of the trajectory that we're going to be on. And I just feel like, the business could double again in a very short time. So excited.
Yeah, and just to put it into perspective, you more than doubled your production from the year before last year, right? You were at like 4.5 or 5 million.
Yeah, and I was stuck there. I mean, let's just say year 1, 2, and 3, each one of those years I doubled. Years 4 and 5, I guess year 4 was kind of flat. Year 5, I doubled again. And then this year, I'm going to be another flat year. But then I totally expect next year to double based upon what we're putting into action this year.
Cool. All right, well, what I'd like to do is kind of go through each one of you and talk a little bit about what you've done, because I think all of you have actually done something a little bit differently in terms of how you made your business double or made it grow. So Tara, why don't we start with you, just because you're first on my screen and I guess you're closest to me. What changes did you make? Because you've made a lot of changes over the last year or year and a half for sure since I've gotten to know you. What specifically would you point to as the top 1 or 2 things that you've done over the last 12 to 18 months to get the growth that you've had?
I think the biggest thing was hiring a full-time admin. I mean, I can't believe I waited that long to do it because I've been in the business for a long time. So I think this is my 12th year as a actively licensed agent. And then I was in the new build business, for 8 years before that. So yeah, hired a full-time admin. So she came on January 2019. And I think that's definitely made a huge impact because it's taken a lot off of my plate. And I didn't realize all the things that I was doing that was time consuming that took me away from selling and lead generation and working with clients. So that was the biggest impact. And then this year, taking on Jacqueline, the new buyer's agent, that's been huge too. So I would say those are the 2 biggest things that just freed up more of my time to focus on sales and buyers, lead generation, listings.
Cool. So let me ask you, because I think a lot of people obviously they make a hire, but sometimes it's the wrong hire. And then I think sometimes it's that they make a hire, but then they get that time back, and yet they don't do with that time what they should to create a bigger business. So what is it, how have you held yourself accountable to using that time that you bought back through leverage to get more business?
I feel like I just have that mindset. I mean, my entire career has been, as a real estate agent, you're self-employed, or, the new home business, you're 100% commission. So your time's money. So if you can, I've always just had the mindset, if you can take that time that you've freed up for yourself and spend it on the things, prioritize the things that are going to make you and your team money, then it's just always been top of mind for me. So I prioritize things based on, obviously clients come first, and then from a job standpoint, my family comes first, but from a career standpoint, you learn to prioritize, what needs to be taken care of, what's, and then just continually, I guess, building your pipeline, not letting it get low. I think I focused on doing that more with my time too.
So do you have a specific system that you use to create those priorities, or do you just find yourself naturally doing that?
To be honest, like I have no system. I mean, I have some systems, but like it's always been top of mind for me. We do time block for things like lead generation and stuff, but I mean, you know, as a busy agent sometimes, and I mean, just it shows today, like people couldn't attend this meeting because things fall in your lap that, you know, might take precedence over something like this. So, yeah, I mean, I guess we have systems, but it's not a set. I have no magic formula other than consistency. I've just always been that driven person. If I get free time, it is definitely going to be spent. If it's free time that was previously what I would consider work time, it's going back to work time. It's not going to necessarily do something fun because you have to set that time aside for, you know, I try to compartmentalize and keep those things separate. So if it was, if I got that time back in my lap and it was time I was spent working on something else, then I'll put it, you know, put that energy towards something that's going to build the business.
Okay.
I wish I had a better answer.
No, you're good. All right, Sarah, how about you? What do you think are the one or two things that you've done over the last year or year and a half to help grow your business the way that you have?
Of course. I think it's going crazy. Everyone's back down at their office now working, and the downtown Wi-Fi is bad now again. I think I have a couple different things. I started 4 years ago on the team, like as the admin and ISA and all that stuff. And then officially the beginning of this year, I finally am fully transitioned out of that role. I'm full-time in production, and now I'm just solely able to focus on selling and lead generating and not doing like all the nonsense that needs to be done day by day. We have someone fully taking care of our sphere and our emails and our mailings and all of that good stuff we stay up top of mind with. So getting out of that role really, because I remember like feeling myself at the end of, or the beginning of this year, and I was like, I can feel myself like breaking through water right now. I'm like right here, and I'm about to like break through the surface, and now I'm finally out. So it feels really good. And then,
Oh, you're breaking up. All right, let's jump over to Oliver. So Oliver, what one or two things have you done over the last 12 to 18 months to help your business grow the way it has?
It was one thing. I had to clean up my own mind. I think this business I realized it's really challenging. The mere fact that we wear a lot of different hats in the business. Our mind tends to we're always turned on. And I was in a coaching session, I think 2.5 years ago. And I just remember how tangled my own brain felt. And I've never been in a self-development world. I've never been, it's really cliche to think about mindset. But once I really started to study mindset and study how my mind thinks and the voice inside my head, and really understanding who that was, and that's not me or my ego, or it's actually my ego talking, but learning how to separate from that started to really open a lot of doors, because I felt like I had a lot of limiting beliefs. And again, it's another really cliche term, limiting beliefs, but what are your limiting beliefs? And paying attention to what you're telling yourself, who and what you can do. I just had a real big breakthrough once I really started learning about me. And it kind of re-energized me to know that there's a lot of other people who feel the way I do. I'm somebody who, I'm not shy to say, like, I battled depression really hard. I think depression for a lot of people, it sucks a lot of energy out of you. And learning to be okay with that, but learning how to actually overcome that. So I think in the past year, it's really allowed me to be more present. By being more present, I'm more purposeful. And it actually allows me to think bigger, because there's the one thing that's, I think a lot of people do is they don't stay, or they're running somebody else's race. So I think it's great. We study a lot of people are doing really big things in this business, but think sometimes we get really tied up in trying to run their race. And we see how quickly people can succeed, and you almost feel like you're failing at times because you don't see yourself rising to the production that they're doing. But if you kind of put blinders on and just really humble yourself and get down to just, again, running your own race, I think it's going to help you start opening doors because you're not going to be distracted and feel defeated based upon whatever your personal goals are. So that's really helped me in the past year, and still it's a work in progress, but it's something I love working on.
Nice. Great answer. All right, Sarah, you're back on. I think I see your eyes moving and
Good. I was like, I don't know what part I got cut out there. Zoom just shut down, but it's okay. But for me, it was getting out of that admin role, really focusing on what I need to do, what's dollar productive. And I've actually been analyzing that like more and more, even with COVID-19, is I'm meeting with all my clients virtually now, which is amazing and has saved me a lot of driving time. And then I have those literally like 10 hours a week I've been driving. Now I can sit and lead generate or focus on other things in our business. One of the big things for me was getting a coach, and Adam, I can hear him on another coaching call back there right now. But he's really pushed me out of my comfort zone to do things that I would typically never just do myself. And I've created a lot of business from it and things he's made me uncomfortable to do. And now I love it. I'm like, push me harder. I'm getting really like, that makes me excited now. That's energizing me to be uncomfortable, which I think is important.
cool. So how are you guys, so obviously when you double your business, you know, one of the ways, it sounds like you guys have all added leverage. I know, Oliver, you didn't touch on it too much, but you added an admin as well. So how are you guys, I mean, is the leverage just providing the opportunity to do more business, or how are you handling what often turns into the real estate roller coaster, where you get super, super busy when you've doubled your business, and then everything, you know, you stop lead generating and you're just trying to take care of clients. Terry, you said clients always come first. What happens when you have too many clients and you're not doing your lead generation? How are you avoiding that? Is it all through leverage, or is there something specific that you kind of hold yourself accountable to, hey, I've got to set aside this much time in order to keep building my business? Because Terry, you're selling yourself short. You haven't even told everybody about the fact that you still sell basically that much in new builds every year too, right?
Yeah. So that, yeah, I stay busy on burning my candle at both ends. And I had a full-time assistant in the model at 1.2 as well the entire last year. So I wasn't physically sitting in a model, but taking appointments. And then, so I did have, you know, another assistant for that side of it, which was huge too. And yeah, I would say it's definitely leverage. And I've learned to let go of my anxiety of I'm one person. I can't, even with help, like you can't possibly get to every single person every single day. So, you know, I do my best until the end of my workday, and sometimes I have a hard time shutting it down, but I've learned to get better at that. And then I'll just make my list for the next day and tackle it as I go. It's been hard, I think, in the last few years, just being in the type of world we're living in of instant gratification, of me not letting people's emotions tie into how I feel about how I run my business, because you will get a lot of people that get upset if they don't get a phone call or a text back in 5 minutes. But again, I'm one person. If I'm showing homes to a client, my time's dedicated to them for 2 hours. I'm not going to stop and text and call everybody back, because I can't. You just can't physically get to every single person. You do your best and then pick it up the next day. And I try to set people up for that understanding of, you know, yeah, you have access to me on my cell phone, you know, virtually 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, but I have business hours just like everybody else. And I will call you back, or I will text you back. But if I don't, there's a reason for it. So I feel like that's helped a lot too. Otherwise, I feel like you could drive yourself crazy trying to get to every single person.
So what was that transition like? Because I know from talking to you before, like there was a time where you did try to do that.
Mhm.
And so what was the transition where you finally said like, enough is enough, I've got to set a standard for myself and stick to it, you know, both for my own sanity and so I can spend time with my family and all that kind of stuff?
It was definitely, it was starting to affect my personal life and my family. I mean, I was getting just a lot of stress, and then I wasn't sleeping, and then, you know, that just trickles down. It was just like a domino effect, and I think it made me realize I had to let go of some of that. So it was almost like a personal realization of, if I didn't, like, I was going to burn myself out, and it was then going to start affecting the business negatively. You know, it was already impacting every other aspect of my life. So I had to, I just had to force myself to learn to let it go. And I still struggle with it, but it is what it is. And honestly, I've learned too, if people are going to be a stressor as a client, and I know you can't avoid that sometimes, but like, if I feel like it's going to be a really, really highly stressful situation, I try to tone it down. And if I can't, then I won't, I just can't work with them. I can't take on that type of business. It's just not worth your sanity, I guess. You know, I mean, I've had clients that they'll call at 5 a.m, or not all the time, but it's those ones that you're like, all right, you know, and sometimes if you say, hey, look, I've got kids, I've got a family, I'm not going to start taking phone calls until, you know, 8 or 9 a.m. after my youngest gets on the bus. If they can't respect that, then it's probably not a client you want to work with anyways. So you try to set boundaries. I've just set boundaries and kind of stuck to them, because, I mean, in all honesty, like, your clients are important, but so is your family and your personal life. And I mean, nothing's going to happen that's such an emergency at, you know, 5 a.m. or 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. at night that can't wait until you can actually physically work, work.
Right.
If their house is burning down or there's an emergency, they need to call 911 and not their realtor.
Yeah. So let's walk through what's that expectation conversation look like for you? Is it something that you have with every client, or do you kind of upfront, or do you kind of wait until somebody abuses it, or what does your standard look like now?
I would say it's always case by case, and it's not every single person, but, you know, if you get a big enough pipeline going, then, you know, you want to kind of casually mention or bring it up, you know, in a general conversation when you're first working with them. Like, it's not the first thing I throw at them. You know, I might joke around like, hey, you know, you can call me anytime. And I'll say, you know, after, or, you know, not too late, or like, you can call me then, but you know, I might not be awake, you know, just kind of joke around.
Right.
And it's just case by case. I feel like I've learned to figure out who's going to abuse it and not, you know, your time. So, and everybody, I've never had any really terrible situations, I guess, to where people didn't respect, if I had to speak up and say, hey, we've got business hours and families too.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, cool. Oliver, how have you handled that?
So I think it's my client experience has become more and more important. Last year when my production ramped up, you hit a natural ceiling. I mean, you get spread pretty thin. And I had a client tell me one time, he said that he felt that I was being reactive instead of proactive. And that really bothered me. And I thanked him for telling me that. So going forward, you know, that's where the leverage comes in. But I really think I've gone back to all my vendors and coached them how I want them to reach out to my clients, to be proactive, to answer their questions, to know where they are in the process, what the next step is. I'm always thinking, how can I answer their questions before they ask me? And by asking that question, it delivers better client satisfaction. I think that we have better conversations. It's not so rushed in certain parts of the transaction that create a lot of the anxiety. I was just caught off guard so many times, and I realized it's because I don't have my own systems in place. I'm not thinking ahead. I'm just in the now. And I kept reacting. And it's not a way to run your business. So focusing going forward and having that leverage, a big part of that is just, again, thinking, what are my clients going to ask next, and how can we answer that before they ask? And it takes a lot off your plate. It helps you quiet your mind, because if you can create more automation in your business, it frees up your time to be doing the money-making activities that we should be doing. I mean, end of the day, you have to remember, we're all rainmakers in our own business. And if you're getting tied up to the point where you can't be a rainmaker anymore, you either get flat, you fall behind. So that's where my attention has gone, and where it will keep going, because I want to keep growing. So that's kind of where, my mindset is in the business right now.
Okay, awesome. Sarah, how about you? I know you did take a lot off your plate. How many transactions did you do last year, though, while you were still basically the admin and sometimes Dana's personal assistant and all of the dog sitter and all those other
So last year I did 25 transactions. It was my first full-time year in real estate.
So how did you, because obviously a lot of the business that you've done already this year is a result of lead generation and different things that you were doing yet last year while you were still doing all of that other stuff. So were you still in college last year too, or had you already graduated?
I graduated about December 2019, and then January was my first real full-time year in real estate.
So what was it that you did last year when you were really busy to make sure that you were still lead generating to allow that success to continue?
Yeah. So it's funny that even right now, the deals I have pending are all from last year's work. A lot of it's been really far out. And that's why I was just looking at it, like, when was the first time I actually met with these people? When did we first make the connection? I've always been a big Facebook Messenger lead generator. It's been really successful for me, and I think everyone should do that if you don't. And the first couple times I did it, I felt really annoying. But when I got my first couple listings out of it, my first couple buyers out of it, and then a full pipeline of first-time home buyers, because that's like my sphere, that's when I was like, I don't care if they think I'm annoying. I'm going to Facebook message you. And it's filled my pipeline, and half of my deals, I have 11 deals pending right now. 4 of them are from the Facebook lead generation, and 2 of them I literally met with for the first time January 2019. So I've been following up with them, and it's taken me a while to harvest them. Of course, some of them wanted to buy that very day if they could, but they couldn't. And then I still have that pipeline. Like, half of them need to work on their credit. They had their job for 2 years. Some of them are still in college, honestly. But I just knew that if I sat down and just literally Facebook message people for 30 minutes a day, or till whenever Facebook thought I was like a robot or spam or whatever they think I am sometimes, then I was like, okay, I probably did enough of that today. But it's taken me a lot of that to build my pipeline, where I have like 50 buyers in the pipeline that will all buy within the next year, if they're allowed to, if the banks let them, because they're all, right out of college.
So that's an interesting thing, because I actually have never talked to you about this. So what does that look like for you? So you sit down at Facebook Messenger, and what are you saying to them?
So some of them I've messaged a couple times and they haven't responded. Some of them I messaged once and they're like, here's someone that will buy. At the beginning of the year, so I have like 4,000 or 3,000 friends on Facebook. And I literally just pull up the side of them and just click on who's online, because I think it's the easiest. And I get online a couple different times a day, a couple different times of the week. And then I just have kind of a script. And I think what I'm saying right now is, hey, thank you so much for your support last year. With the help of my Facebook friends and Instagram friends, I was able to hit my goals and help so many wonderful clients. If you know anyone looking to buy or sell within the next year, I would really love the referral or appreciate the referral. And then it's really interesting because the people that always respond are the ones that are like overseas, out of the country, in the military. Already are homeowners. They always respond because they're like, thanks so much, I already own a home. So it's really, really funny, the people that 100% always respond. And then there's some I literally haven't, I rode the bus with in like middle school, and they respond like, yeah, sure, here's somebody. But it's been really, really good. And then sometimes they don't respond to that message. Sometimes they'll reach out a couple months later. They're like, hey, Sarah, I've seen your stuff on Facebook. I've kept up with you. I'm looking to buy a house, or I'm looking to, my parents want to sell their house, or whatever that may be.
So you layer that on with also, like, how often do you post on social media?
So full transparency, I've been really bad these past couple of weeks, and I've noticed that I was working till like 11 or midnight a lot of nights these past couple of weeks. And then I'm like, oh my goodness, I didn't post on Facebook for the day. And then I'm like, well, now no one's going to see it. The freaking out, whatever that Facebook, I can't even say the word.
Algorithm.
Yeah, thanks. So when I was really on my A game every single day, and that is because every single time you post, someone different's going to see it because of all that, how all that works. No one's going to get annoyed with you. If anything, it just reinforces that you do sell real estate. And we say this on the team, like, I still have people that message me on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, and they're like, Sarah, do you sell in Louisville, or do you sell in Lexington? I'm like, I sell in both. Or will you work with me if I do this, or blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no matter how many times you say I do this, I sell real estate here, a lot of people still really don't know. Even though they see it, they might not read it. They might just see the pretty picture and think, oh, that's cute. But you just can't put that up there enough. Like, we have to do it as much as we possibly can. And I used to have this like idea in my head that, oh, I'm annoying. But people like that. And the more people I've met with on Zoom, because now like COVID's honestly given me a really good time to just sit down and meet with all these buyers in my pipeline who I could never like really get in contact with before, to like hammer down a time to meet with them. They're like, we love your stuff. It's so cute. We love keeping up with you. And I'm like, thank you. That makes me feel good.
Awesome. So it's really just consistency, and for you, Facebook offers the ability to do lead gen kind of when you have time.
Yes.
Cool.
Everyone should be messaging on Facebook. The people you like would never think would respond. Like, there's people I've literally never talked to and they respond. So, and you just
are you just starting with the message, hey, thank you to all my Facebook friends, or are you saying, hey, how are you doing?
I say, how are you doing? Have you been impacted? It's kind of changed now that this has happened. It is definitely an emphasis. I put their name in there now. I'm a lot more careful because now you have to be really sensitive with people, I think. So, and there's certain times a year where I find it really easy. Like, that message was super easy to send out at the beginning of year because everyone's so goal oriented at the beginning of the year. They want to help you. They want to make sure. And honestly, this is like a scroll from that, but people kind of take pride that you reached out to them because they're like, oh, like, she thinks I can buy or sell a house. At least and it's going to be different with how old your Facebook friends are and stuff like that. But a lot of people are like, wow, I can buy a house. They're like honored that I buy that. So.
Cool. Tara, Stephanie asked in the chat, do you currently work model hours?
As of right, like with the whole, I used to, with the whole pandemic thing, I've gone to by appointment only right now. So, and I'd like to continue that. Even before the pandemic, like, I had my assistant in there 5 days a week. Not sure what's going to transpire over the next few weeks and how that's going to be handled in terms of model hours, but I don't see myself going back to any type of full-time model hours. I kind of pick and choose. Like, if I want to be in there on a weekend, then it might be busy. You know, if I've got a listing in the neighborhood, it might be a good way to have my presence there, lead generate from that standpoint, or if I have to meet with clients, I'm there. But other than that, I'm pretty much appointment only. But there are model hours. It's just being held by either an assistant or another rep.
Okay. And in terms of your lead generation, where does most of your business come from?
Oh, I didn't see the chat. Sorry. I didn't know that popped up. Okay, sorry. In terms of lead generation,
Yeah, where does most of your business come from?
honestly now, and it has been for a while, it's a lot of organic leads, a lot of referral based. I have a ton of clients that will refer other people to me. I have a lot of repeat business. I do have quite a bit of people that if they end up building or I meet them in the model, or if they're building with me, I'll list their home too. So that's been, I do like to have a presence in the model sometimes for that aspect. So the clients I get there, I will, work into usually listing their homes, or they'll refer me to family members. So it's a lot of organic based or just nurturing your pipeline. Real estate's always top of mind. So I feel like I always casually talk to people about that, even if I'm soccer practice, baseball, with friends, always just kind of bring it up casually, and it's paid off a ton. We've dove into, I have HomeSnap Pro, I do Google ads and things like that. But to be honest, I haven't gotten as much from Zillow or Google or anything like that as I have from just nurturing, my leads that I already have and just talking to people. Our open houses, when we have people sign in, we're constantly following up with those individuals too as well. So we put those in our lead database and just kind of work from there. Just constantly trying to stay on top of people and follow up. It's easy to fall behind though when you get busy.
Right. That's where those systems come in, right? And having an admin help to actually do it for you even when you're busy.
Yep. Yeah.
Oliver, how about you? I know you mentioned at the beginning of the call that you're kind of in a transition from a mostly like paid advertising, cold call kind of style into more of that repeat and referral sphere based business. So how's that going for you? And like, what's the percentage of your business coming from those two sources?
So we got more clarity by rebuilding the database. Having a lead generation business over the past few years, we've made a lot of contacts. People don't always buy or sell. They're kind of always at information gathering stage, but by continually having the conversations and the money's all in the follow-up. We started identifying like who my top 100 is. So we put together a spreadsheet. I filled in, it's called a lead pipeline, but I really pay attention to every single day. Who in my top 100 do I need to be talking to? And we shuffle some people in and out of that top 100, but being really like mindful every day, kind of starting with that top 100 has really started to pay off, especially for, again, like having more clarity in the database. So we put a database together of past clients in Sphere, put a database together of the online leads based upon 3 different stages. They're going to be hots, they're going to be nurtures, they're going to be watch. And then there's a family and friends database. So we kind of have different touch campaigns for each one of those databases. They know me on a different level. But again, it's that follow-up and having more clarity. I think, we always think, your whole job in this business is to start creating a databases from what I've learned. And some of the best teams have the biggest databases. So we're also looking at new ways right now in our marketing. How can we keep feeding into the database? How can we keep still having more and more meaningful conversations? Again, I kind of look at this entire job as my job is just to make friends. When I'm calling people, it's one of my biggest strengths is I'm really just trying to build rapport and get into their world. And it's not about real estate. I'm always looking for ways to connect with them and help them outside of real estate. Because once you start filling people's cups by just showing you care, it's kind of like Sarah reaching out to people maybe she hasn't talked to in a while. People really, really gravitate towards that. So that's, it's just pretty much database driven and just, again, thinking of ways to keep growing the database.
So have you moved completely away from online lead gen?
We're starting to, yeah. I'm putting less and less hours into having to lead gen from, cold leads. It still makes me a good return on my investment. I'm good at it. So I still, do it every day. But I find myself being able to cherry pick too. I mean, Tara said it earlier, like, I kind of have an ideal client avatar. I'm not going to be working with some of the people I would used to take on in the past. I just kind of learned to recognize some red flags. And sometimes you have, you don't want to deal with crazy, make sure life crazy. So we're kind of just cherry picking through the people we see ourselves wanting to work with. It's not always a luxury you have when you're first starting out or you're low in production. But once you get to higher production levels, you got to really be careful who you're choosing to work with, because some people will suck the energy out of you. They will take up a lot more of your time. And so just kind of more and more building, and again, who we're marketing to, who do we want to work with? Trying to get more hyper local. I'd rather work with people in my community versus driving halfway across the city for, a dozen showings that, it's a half hour each way. So that's the goal, is keep niching down where I'm working out of and stop trying to capture everything, because this is a big city.
So Sarah, how have you leveraged your time? I know you said obviously COVID happened. I don't think if that was in your business plan, like we need to start talking about what next year holds. So how do you leverage your time? Obviously Louisville and Lexington are an hour apart. So how have you leveraged your time to make sure that you're as efficient as possible when you have that big of an area that you're covering?
Of course. So it's really, really crazy. But I do have a showing assistant in Louisville. I have a couple options. I think I finally really found one really, really good, because a lot of my clients are single, young, unmarried women. And I had like a couple guys showing. I was like, they probably really would prefer someone really similar to me, at least. So finally think I found someone really good in Louisville. And then in Lexington, I also have a couple different showing assistants. I try to show as much as I possibly can. However, there's homes that pop up last minute, and my clients already know one of my services to them is I have showing assistants. If I already have a couple showings or meetings or appointments that day, I can get you in with one of my showing assistants. And if I tell them that at the buyer's consultation, they love that. They're like, cool, great. That's a service to them. They can get in to see that home as soon as possible. So I think that's been major for me time-wise, just because I'm now really only going back and forth I'm mainly in Lexington. I'm only going to Louisville like once a week now. And that's more so for like those bigger things, like a closing, an inspection. In my ideal world, I have like a closing, inspection, and showings all one day in Louisville. It doesn't always work like that. So when it doesn't work like that, I just have a showing assistant go out for me.
So what do you pay them?
$25 a house if it's in town. If it's further out, it's like $50 a house. I asked all of them if they would be interested in per transaction, and no, they all liked it per house, which honestly, I like it per house too. My goal is to not have for my people to show a bunch of homes. If it gets past like 5 homes and they don't actually truly like any of them, then we're having another sit down meeting or a Zoom, like, hey, what are we doing wrong? Because I don't want to waste their time. I don't want to waste my time. Don't want to waste my showing assistant's time. Don't want to waste the seller's time. If it's a home I can tell they're super, super going to love, and I think like right now the market's so crazy and multiple offer, I'll go and show it myself, and just to build that rapport. But the $25 a house is amazing. Just like a Venmo, PayPal, it's game changer.
Yeah, definitely. We have a showing assistant in our office here in Dublin, and he gets utilized a lot for sure. So Tara, what have you done in your business since COVID happened that you think is going to continue on beyond it, that maybe you wouldn't have had the guts to do, or didn't have the foresight, didn't think it would work, that you think like, no question, no matter what, I'm going to keep doing it?
Gosh, I'm not sure.
I know I just pulled that out of left field, but I thought it would be a good question.
I don't, I guess I never thought I'd be showing homes during a pandemic and wearing a mask and carrying Clorox wipes in my car and hand sanitizer and then not shaking people's hands. That's been really awkward, but I've, you can make it kind of funny, like I'll elbow bump you. So I guess from a client standpoint, I think just genuinely, and I've always tried to do this, but I've been doing it more, is just genuinely reaching out to people to see how they're doing. So I feel like, that may not get you a listing or a buyer right away, but they're going to remember the fact that you were like just checking on them. And because we did a lot of that during the pandemic. And I feel like that's going to put us top of mind later on, when they do go to list, sell, or buy, or whatever it might be, they're going to say, oh my gosh, she, just totally checks in with us, instead of just a generic, mailer or flyer, email that might be a blast, to everybody. Those are great, but I feel like that genuine, just quick text message or an email even of, hey, just checking to see how you're doing during this pandemic, or, just a genuine check-in, even if it's not pandemic related, that you could just keep nurturing that database organically. Time block for that to where you just sit down and reach out to those people. There's a lot of people I sat down and reached out to just to check on that are now like, I think we're going to list. So it's worked out. And I think that's something you could continue to do.
Yeah, I think it opens up the conversation to allow them to ask those questions that everyone has, even if they're not thinking about selling, but certainly if they are, they may not reach out to you to ask, but if you have that forum, they do.
Yep. Yeah.
Are you texting mostly, or calling, or a combination?
It's a combination of like texting, calling, and emails. So it just depends. And I think I also kind of gear it towards what type of client it is, because I have a big database. I have younger clients somewhere in between. And then I've got an older database too, because I've done a lot of the custom patio homes, and those clients I'm definitely not texting. I'm probably sending an email or, picking up the phone to call them. But then it just depends. We did a lot of email like from our past sales, like we pulled up all of those, just even going back as far as 8-9 years, and just started reaching out to those people, check in with them, see how they're doing during the pandemic via email. Jacqueline sat down and wrote emails to a lot of people, and some of them responded. They may not be doing anything now, but again, I feel like it puts us top of mind for later. We offered, if they needed our help, even outside of real estate during this time, if you need somebody to go to the store or drop off water or do whatever, let us know, we're here to help. So I think that's something we'll carry forward, is just that, more genuine, organic. It makes people, you'll be remembered, I feel like, for that. So.
Do you have anybody take advantage of you offering to do things for them?
No. Not really. Not at all. I mean, have you, Jacqueline? Jacqueline's in here with me, so I'm asking her, like, no, and we've offered to a lot of people. They've been more so just appreciative of it. I don't always like offer to do a lot of stuff for, people but outside of this pandemic, but just that genuine check-in. But no one's really taken advantage, even though we have offered help. No, nobody.
I offered to go to the store for somebody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So she offered to go to the store for somebody, but they didn't take you up on it, did they?
Mm-hmm.
No. Yeah. But I think just offering it helps. No one's really taken advantage of it. Like in a bad way, I guess. No one's really even taken advantage of it from a point that like they took us up on the fact that we offered to help either.
Yeah, I think in the way that could carry forward would be, you have a vendor list, right? Like how often do people think about reaching out to you when they're putting a new deck on their house or a new patio or whatever? Yeah, a lot, but probably there's a lot that don't. Mm-hmm. And so just calling and offering that even beyond the pandemic is an easy call where you're not asking for anything, but just offering them something. Yeah. Oliver, how about you? What have you done during the pandemic that you feel like you'll carry forward?
Oh, Yeah, I was just thinking that myself.
It's true.
I think going forward, I do like the Zoom interaction. And I think it's actually good because again, we go back to online leads and getting face to face with people. So I think I'm not doing it now, but honestly, I think Sarah said she's having more Zoom calls with her buyer clients. And it really makes me think that there's probably something of value I could be offering, having a consultation just through a Zoom and sending them a link or a calendar link to the database. And if anybody wants to sign up, between these hours, we can start having buyer consultations. So I don't think my business has really changed, honestly, because of the pandemic. It slowed down in the beginning. We're right back to where we're normal production now. But I do think more people going forward in the next year or two, it's going to be slow coming out of this. I don't think we're coming out of this very fast. I think people's habits will change. So I feel like it's probably a good time to pivot how we meet clients face to face. But I think it's very convenient. I think everybody loves the convenience of this. It's not probably the most ideal way you get, by actually meeting people in person, but the convenience factor, I think people are actually really waking up to, because probably a lot of people didn't do Zoom before this. I think everybody with their jobs are now doing Zoom calls. So I think that's something to look into.
Yeah, no, that's great. You just have to make sure you schedule 15 minutes in between. Otherwise, you literally have no time. Sarah, how about you? What's something that you'll carry forward?
Honestly, so many things. My big thing really is the Zoom calls, because last week I met with 5 or 6 new clients on Zoom. And if those were to be face to face, it would have probably been more like 3 or so. Just working between everyone's schedule, my schedule, their schedule. Where are we going to meet? The office, your house, Starbucks. I'm able to meet with so many more people that way, and people who have maybe reached out to me in the past and said they're a couple of years out. Now I'm able to meet with those people because it's not a huge deal for them to just literally log in their computer that they're at probably already 8 hours a day and just hop on a Zoom with me during their lunch break. And it's saved me a ton of time just doing it, where I can just sit either at my kitchen table or in my office versus running around town meeting with everybody. So I absolutely love that. And of course, with so many of my people being off of Facebook or first-time home buyers, a lot of them still can't even honestly buy this year or something like that. So it's really nice to just hop on with the 30-minute, 45-minute Zoom and not have to take out 2 hours out of my day, including round trip drive time and stuff like that. We've gotten to more of a direct mail, and we're doing every door direct mail with listings we've sold. We haven't done that in years just because I never look at my mail really, but now I'm going to my mailbox what's in my mailbox today? So I'm sure other people are like that. I'm getting excited to check my mail, and I'm getting really disappointed when there's nothing in my mailbox now. So we're mailing to, and I don't know if people we kind of cut that expense a couple years ago. But we're noticing a really tight chain of we put a sign in the yard, then we picked up another listing from it, and then we picked up a buyer from that listing. We're noticing this really specific chain of events, and especially when you're one neighborhood in Lexington, we just do a lot of business in. So we are going back to that every door direct. We can't door knock right now, which I'm a door knocker. So finding ways around that, but to hit the neighborhood, but not do it face to face. So.
Yeah. Hey, Bridget, are you on? Or are you just listening passively? Anyways, if she doesn't jump on.
I'm on.
Oh, there you go.
I am.
Well, on that postcard just listed, just sold, I think that what you're doing with that is super valuable. Will you tell everybody just real quick about the QR code and what your result is?
Yeah, no, for sure. It's through Quantum Digital, and I started this back when I was with Howard Hanna, but I get a notification after every listing and every sold that says, hey, do you want to send out these postcards? It automatically generates to the neighborhood. So I just click a button and I can send it to either 50 or 100, and it'll automatically send it out to a neighborhood. And on that, just listed or just sold is a QR code. So if somebody clicks on it, I get a notification. And sometimes they'll just click on it, but I always follow up. Some will leave their cell phone number, and I've gotten leads from it. In fact, I just got one recently. It's funny you should mention this because I was looking in Command. Georgia and I were talking about this morning. They have something similar to that I was going to try and attempt with my one that just sold or closed yesterday to see, because I think it's cheaper actually, because I think I pay $75 per round for like 100. So per listing, I'll spend about 150 on it. But Command does have something similar to it, but right now I do it through Quantum Digital because it's automatic. But I do believe Command has something like that.
So what have been your results from that?
I generally get at least one lead from it, maybe 2 leads per year. I need to run the numbers, but I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer. You know, it's easier than, you know, or, you know, I guess it would be similar to farming a neighborhood before and after, but I was just, like I said, that one across the street that I had that closed, and it was Pickerington, but which is not my wheelhouse, but they called me and they said, and it was the day before they did shelter in place. It was the weirdest thing, but they saw the postcard and said, hey, can you come list my house? And I'm like, I don't know. So, yeah.
Cool. Heather, oh, go ahead. Sarah, were you going to say something?
Something you said just made me think of something that is kind of a squirrel. One thing that also COVID-19 has made me really get serious about is like the offers we're taking on our listings, and the buyers were out showing. And like now whenever I write an offer for a buyer, if they like are an engineer or they're a nurse or something like that, like that's how we're standing out. Like, look how essential these people are. I don't know what you said just made me think about that. And then when we have the listings on stuff and we have a couple offers, I'm asking like, what do they do? What's their career? How long have they been with the people? And just getting really, really serious, because we've had a couple deals fall out of contract just because of unemployment or something like that. So now we're really picking up like bulletproofing the transaction and things like that. We're not picking up, but like really getting serious about it again versus when it's a crazy hot market and everything's going great. Now we're just really getting serious and kind of strict about things, I think.
Well, and it's kind of like goes along what Oliver said, being proactive versus reactive. And I think a lot of people fell into the idea that like, if it falls out of contract, we'll just get another contract. And when COVID happened and no one knew what the market was going to be like 30 days from now, you couldn't afford to fall out.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. Well, does anybody have any questions? We're right just a little bit after 1. Does anybody have any questions for Sarah, Tara, or Oliver? Don't everybody talk at once.
Hi guys, it's Tracy. I just want to say thank you for all the wonderful input and advice, and just wonderful to hear everything that you guys are doing. And I'm super excited to be new. I'm brand new this month on boarding, so just taking in all this great information and hopefully you know, being successful just like all of you. So I just want to say thank you for your time and all your advice and input.
Thanks, Tracy. Reach out anytime.
Thanks, Oliver.
Thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Teresa, were you going to say something? I saw you unmuted.
Oh, no, I was just going to say it was great information. Thank you, guys. It was very good, very helpful.
Cool. Awesome. Well, with that, we will go ahead and sign off unless the 3 of you have anything else that you wanted to add.
Oh, I just want to say something to Oliver.
Hey, Heather.
I want to see you next week in the office, please.
I know. I got to make my return trip back out there. I keep forgetting I've gotten so used to working at home. I'm like comfortable now.
I know. I'm going to start coming into the office regularly next week. So it's on my schedule and I've got it planned out. So
I'll be back.
You'll
I
have
look
to
forward to it.
schedule a round of golf for him north of the office. So maybe if he has to drive by the office to go golf, he'll stop by.
Perfect. Perfect. I love
All right.
it.
Airfield out there. Okay.
Awesome, guys. Well, thank you again. And everybody have a good rest of your day.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Troy.
You
Troy.
too.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.